A red line from Washington and the looming threat of war are pushing tensions between the United States and Iran to a dangerous new peak. President Donald Trump is openly demanding that Iran abandon its ballistic missile program or face direct U.S. military action. According to the New York Times, defense analysts argue that these missiles represent Iran's final and most critical line of deterrence against renewed strikes by Israel or the United States. Now, with Trump insisting they be eliminated, the clock appears to be running out. For Tehran, ballistic missiles are not a bargaining chip or a temporary tool for negotiation. They are viewed as a core pillar of national defense and a symbol of strategic survival. Iran's air force is widely considered outdated, and years of international sanctions have severely limited its ability to modernize conventional military capabilities. In this context, missiles are seen as Iran's most reliable means of deterring foreign aggression, particularly from Israel and U.S. forces stationed across the Middle East. Iranian leaders have repeatedly stated that surrendering this capability would leave the country exposed and fundamentally unable to respond to an attack. For them, this is a red line that cannot be crossed. Iran's response to Trump's escalating pressure has been swift and uncompromising. Foreign Minister Abbas Araki warned that Iran's armed forces are fully prepared to respond immediately and powerfully, declaring that troops are standing with their fingers on the trigger. Senior advisor Ali Shamkhani went even further, cautioning that any U.S. strike would mark the beginning of a war and trigger an unprecedented, all-out response across the region. These warnings came only hours after Trump intensified his rhetoric in public, signaling that diplomacy may be rapidly giving way. In a post on Truth Social, Trump urged Iran to accept negotiations over its nuclear program, while simultaneously threatening devastating consequences if it refuses. The next attack will be far worse, he wrote, confirming that a U.S. naval armada is moving toward Iranian waters and stressing that time is truly of the essence. The message left little room for ambiguity, compliance, or conflict. Behind closed doors, reports suggest the administration is weighing targeted strikes against Iranian security forces and senior leadership. According to sources cited by Reuters, the strategy would aim not only to weaken Iran's military capabilities, but also to spark internal unrest and encourage protests that could destabilize the regime from within. However, Israeli and Arab officials have privately warned Washington that air power alone is unlikely to bring down Iran's deeply entrenched clerical leadership. Such caution has raised serious doubts about whether escalation would achieve its intended goals or instead spiral into a broader regional war. The military buildup is already significant. The USS Abraham Lincoln, accompanied by 3 destroyers, is operating in the Indian Ocean, adding nearly 5,700 U.S. personnel to an already tense theater. F-15E Strike Eagles are conducting missions across the Middle East, while British Typhoon jets have been deployed to Qatar. U.S. Patriot and THAAD missile defense systems remain on high alert, reflecting growing concern over potential retaliatory strikes. All of this unfolds as Iran faces its most severe internal unrest in decades. Protests driven by economic collapse, inflation, and widespread anger toward clerical rule have spread across the country. Activist groups claim that more than 5,000 people have been killed and over 27,000 detained during an intense government crackdown. Despite mounting domestic pressure and external threats, Iran's leadership insists it will not retreat. Officials argue that giving up pressure would invite further demands and embolden adversaries. The standoff now appears locked in a dangerous stalemate. Iran says its missiles are non-negotiable. Trump says surrender is the only path forward, with both sides refusing to blink. The risk of miscalculation continues to grow, raising fears that rhetoric could soon give way to irreversible action.